Alright, what's up guys? We are back again with another war video. If you guys noticed in the last war video, it kind of I ended up cutting out totally by accident because I'm a professional YouTuber. I cut out like the entire intro. So anyway, welcome to season 37. I'm so excited to be back in competitive alliance war. I said all this in the last video and it just got chopped off because I'm an idiot. So anyway, I think that's probably pretty obvious to anybody that's watched the channel for a while or popped in streams that I really like Alliance War. But anyway, very excited to be back at a competitive level. You guys can see here that we are still Tier 3. Spoiler alert, we are going to win this war, and this is our last war in Tier 3. So after this win, we moved up to Tier 2. Which is very exciting, and there are a lot of node changes, and the global is a lot more potent. It has a little bit of additional stuff to go with it at Tier 2, Tiers 1 and 2. So in future war video, so the next war video, I'll talk about what the difference is in Conduit between Tier 3 and Tier 2. But anyway, so this is our final war in Tier 3, and yeah, I don't know. All right, so let's get into it. I'm just going to play this, and I think that I really like the format last war, where I was able to kind of pause everything and use my cursor if I wanted to. So here are their bans. These freaking assholes banned Apocalypse and CGR. Now, another thing to note here is at Tier 3, there is only one global, there's only one blacklisted attacker, and that is Spider-Man 2099. At Tiers 1 and 2, there are two, Spider-Man 2099 and Hercules. So at Tier 3, if you don't want the opponent to use Hercules, you still have to ban Hercules. Okay, and then the other thing is there's only one whitelisted champ at this level, and that whitelisted champ is... oh, I'm sorry, the whitelisted champ... Okay, excuse me. The second blacklisted champ at Tiers 2 and 1 is actually Ghost, not Herc. Herc is a whitelisted champ at Tiers 2 and 1. The other whitelisted champ this season is Human Torch. Anyway, alright, let's get back into it. So they banned my two safety attackers, the ones that I am most comfortable with, especially Apocalypse. But okay, so real quick, we did have this visual bug when I entered the map. I saw this and I was like, what in the shit? And this is Bryn here that has this path, and Bryn's one of the best players that I've played with. So I was like, what in the heck happened? So I'm kind of trying to focus. I click on it, it says reserved, and I'm like, is it possible he somehow joined the war map without any attackers? So anyway, I had a little minor freak out for a sec, exited the map screen, went back to the main menu, and then back to the map screen, and it was just a visual bug. Spoiler alert, just a visual bug. Bryn is fine. There's his team. So anyway, all right, real quick, I kind of forgot to do the scouting phase here. So I don't have there you guys can see kind of up in the top left corner, we've got this Craven. I know that there wasn't anybody down here on this node, but this ended up just being Archangel with Guidance. The Guidance is just to bypass Craven's, I can't remember what it's called, but it's essentially a built-in limber mechanic. But it basically, it's called Endurance. And basically every non-damaging debuff that he's afflicted by throughout the fight, he shortens successive non-damaging debuff duration by I think 10% or something like that, and he can do that up to 80%. So essentially, if you parry him, that your next parry is going to be shorter duration, and especially with defenders placing with max limber, at least at the higher tiers, Tiers 1 and 2, he can essentially become kind of stun immune. Now, he's actually not a very difficult defender, and stun immune is totally fine strategy to use against him if you need to. But, it's just something worth noting, and just to be extra safe, we sent guidance here. And then this is just an Angela with masochism over time. She is a conduit defender here, so you don't want to use somebody like Dr. Doom, for example, that inflicts shock, because that will just regenerate her. So anyway, we just sent Quake here. I can't remember who was on this path, but I'm pretty sure it was just a Gallon or a Hulkling that we sent. Wong over here, we ended up using Human Torch. This is pretty good placement for him. If you have guidance, you're going to pretty much remove what's difficult about this node, and Wong in general. Basically, if you're not able to stun him reliably, and this one does have, I believe, insult to injury, then if he throws his heavy, he can go passively unstoppable and power gain. So anyway, and then this is just the debuff immunity lane, basically. We just sent a Corvus here because they didn't ban Corvus. Picked up 3 charges right in a row, so... anyway, and then over here, you guys saw Bryn's team earlier, but Bryn could have used Archangel or Scorpion for this fight. Ultimately, I just went with Scorpion because his Scorpion is rank 4, awakened, so, if he were to get in trouble and she threw a special attack, he could just block it as long as she was taunted. And then also, he chose Shock Sting, which gave him Rupture immunity, so he doesn't have to worry about, like, if he messes up and gets tagged a couple times by Tigra, he won't be inflicted with any ruptures. Alright, and then down here, this is the Conflictor, and then this is Energize at tier 3. At tiers 2 and 1, this becomes Vivified, which is a little bit more complicated than Energize, but Happy just ghosted this path here. Here's a Warlock you guys can see. I actually took this fight with Hulkling. And then over here, we had a Quake take this lane. I think there was a Havoc down here. Person used Nimrod for Havoc, Quake for this Korg, which is not an ideal matchup in my opinion, but this person is very comfortable with Quake. And then that person also took this Terrax with Quake. Alright, and then... you have all that jazz, and okay, so node 22, Happy just took that with Ghost, and then node 23, Rintra, that ended up being pretty good placement for Rintra. Initially, I was going to assign Archangel there. Same reason as with the Tiger fight, ended up just having Bryn use his R4 Scorpion and do Shock Sting so that he gained... Rupture immunity, but Archangel is like a really, really good matchup there. Human Torch is obviously also a very good matchup. The thing with Human Torch is a lot of people kind of get in the habit of not ever really consistently knocking the defender down. And with Rintra, every time you hit him, there's a chance that he gains a mystical charge, and if he gets 10 or more and he's cornered, he'll go passively unstoppable. So you just want to knock him down to remove some mystical charges. So knockdown champs like Scorpion with his heavy and his recycling his SP1 and Archangel are just really kind of picture perfect for him. And then that Void over there on node 26, Happy just used Ghost. And then that Hyperion, we used a Torch with Flame on. And an invuln boost just to be super safe, but not a very difficult fight. I think it lasted like 20 seconds. I actually sent Bryn up path 6. You guys can see up in the top right, there's a Magneto there. He's a conduit defender. Bryn just used Archangel, and Archangel is metal, but Archangel is also immune to ability accuracy reduction. So Magneto will have heightened attack against him because he's metal, but he won't be able to, Archangel can land clean parries and all that stuff. The other factor is Magneto is bleed resistant, I think up to, it's 80 or 90%. But you can still inflict him with bleeds, and Archangel, once he gets the neurotoxins on, he's just going to melt him anyway. So anyway, we used Archangel there, and then I can't remember what the second fight on that path was, but I don't think that it was anything too bad. Alright, and then, okay, section 2 here. We definitely use Quake here. This is buffet over time. You can also, you can use basically any buffet immune champ. We used Archangel on Gallon here and Quake on this King Groot. This one did take about 3 minutes, so, I knew that might be a little bit of a longer fight, but pretty easy. Corvus just went up this path, took Guardian, Omega Sentinel, and just for extra safety, we had a guidance placed. The Corvus person brought a white mags and placed guidance here just to bypass cleanse, so that it didn't have to worry about that. And I ended up taking this path. You guys will see my team here, but I had an all cosmic team, basically overcompensating for them taking away my favorite cosmic champ. And then down here, you've got your standard null placement and Mr. Fantastic. This just ended up being Mole Man fights. And again, I said this last war, but Mole Man can block unblockable attacks, all unblockable attacks, if he has at least 1 point in stage your ground and he has at least 1 monster mass. So Mole Man is very easy for this. You just want to parry heavy on this node to build up monster mass. And then every time you block an unblockable hit, he'll lose monster mass and whatever. You can just get up through there, go into frenzy, nuke him down. Super easy. And then this path here, we had Human Torch against this Maw. This one does not have debuff immunity or mighty charge, so you don't have to use Flame On, but I think that person did use Flame On just because he had it available. We used Kingpin for this Quicksilver. This Quicksilver is very good placement here. Quicksilver basically has 2 defensive mechanics, or 1 defensive mechanic, I guess, that makes him pretty annoying. And that is his 100% chance to evade attacks, and he can do that 2 ways. He does that on dash-in, so if he's dashing in at you and you try to attack him, he has a 100% chance to evade that attack. Or if he is stunned with an active stun, so if you parry him without guidance and you try to attack him, then he will get out of that stun and he will automatically evade. And that chance is 100%. So you have 3 ways to get around that on this node, because you have to intercept him. I should also note that once he evades, that mechanic goes on cooldown for 15 seconds. Okay, so it's not like every single attack. It's just he'll do it once, and then it goes on cooldown for 15 seconds. So you can either ignore it, let him evade, probably tap you a few times, and then you could just go back to intercepting him, like if you're using a champ like Ghost, if she's not banned, or Kitty Pryde or something like that. You can also use an anti-evade champ like Mole Man. Mole Man, in my opinion, is the best matchup for this node, because when Mole Man has a monster mass, if he blocks an attack, he gains an unstoppable buff, but you can utilize that buff the same way as Killmonger's counterpunch mechanic, so you can just basically interrupt the opponent's dash-in with an attack immediately, and that does count as intercept. So Mole Man is very good, obviously, with Mole Man, as long as he's not in Frenzy or above 10 monster mass, you don't have to worry about that evade mechanic. We did send a Kingpin because the person that was on this path, their Mole Man was on defense, and they had an R4 Kingpin. And with Kingpin, essentially the strategy is play him completely stun immune, wait for him to throw a heavy attack, and then counter that heavy attack with a full combo and just recycle your SP1. So you're basically ignoring the intercept node. It does reduce damage by 60%, but a rank 4 Kingpin, especially with like Overrun, once he gets some whiplash debuffs on him and stuff like that, he just hits hard enough that it doesn't matter. I do think that fight is going to take like 2.5 to 3 minutes, but it's very, very safe. You just don't want to parry him, and you don't want to intercept him. Or you can intercept him and parry him, let him evade, and then you don't have to worry about that ability for 15 seconds. Anyway, moving on. This Kitty Pryde, I think we just had Nimrod take this fight, and that was the person that was on this path. And then Bryn, I told you that he took Magneto down here on path 6 with Archangel. Up here, he took this Apocalypse with Scorpion. And I know that I've said this a few times in the last couple war videos, but this path, when the defenders have 3 or more prowess effects, whether they're passive or active, all of their special attacks are unblockable. They're passively unblockable. So it's a very, very good place to place an Apocalypse. A lot of people struggle blocking his SP1, and his SP2 is really dangerous. So if you miss an evade, you can get one shot. And he's going to start as a defender. He'll start with 3 genetic codes. So he has 3 prowess. He's automatically unblockable with his special attacks only on this path. Scorpion is so good because as long as he's awakened, if he is taunting the opponent, which he inflicts a long taunt on his SP1, he can block unblockable special attacks. So basically the strategy with Scorpion against Apocalypse on this path is use a PS1 boost or a Power Start 1 boost, and just basically before Apocalypse gets to his special 1, just throw your SP1 with Scorpion. That'll inflict, I think it's like a 12 or 15 second taunt, and then you can just block all of his special attacks, no problem. Plus, he'll end up killing himself from the sting damage. Okay, so, and then up here, I don't know if I'm going to even see these fights over here to give you guys the scouting report, and I just didn't do a very good job of preparing this video for the scouting stuff. It turns out that you guys actually like the scouting stuff, which is very cool. So I will do that, but you'll be happy to know that I'm also going to timestamp this video in all videos moving forward, so that you don't have to, double tap your phone to fast forward. You can actually just click if you want to skip all the scouting stuff and get to the fights. You can do that. So, I'm learning, I'm improving as a YouTuber, and yeah, very exciting stuff. Okay, so up here, this fight, I know that we just used Archangel with Guidance. Now, one thing to note with Mordo is since his rework, he's actually immune to passive ability accuracy reduction. So even with Archangel with a bunch of neurotoxins on him, Mordo will still get his power gain buff. So we did have the person use an invulnerability boost here just to be like super safe. I don't think that he needed it because Archangel's neurotoxin damage is so insane, but it is worth mentioning there. This is a good placement for Nick Fury, Conflictor. My favorite matchup for this fight is Apocalypse, but since he was banned, Omega Red is also very, very good for this placement. Omega Red with 10 or more spores. Also, the opponent cannot purify debuff effects, so he works basically the same way as Apocalypse on Conflictor, as long as he has 10 or more spores up. But we did end up just using, the person that took this, I think it was Bryn, he just used Archangel here, and again, placed Guidance to bypass Conflictor. Those initial debuffs will trigger Conflictor, but once you convert to neurotoxins, the neurotoxins are passive, so they won't trigger Conflictor, and then he can also just shut off Conflictor in the node if, by reducing the ability accuracy. And then up here, Bryn used his rank 4 Scorpion on that Mangog. Very, very easy fight. Over here, we just had somebody quake these two fights. Gore, if you guys are not familiar, Gore, he has basically the exact same regen mechanic as Sabretooth. And if you guys, as an awakened Sabretooth. So basically, every time you hit him, he gains a passive, I think it's passive, no, it's actually an active regeneration buff that doesn't really have a lot of potency. But on this node, which is Buffet over time, but also Vigorous Assault, any passive or any active regeneration buff, the defender becomes completely unblockable. Okay, so this is very good placement for Gore. Gore would also be very good placement here. And then over here, these nodes give the defender, once they've activated 10 passive or active regeneration effects of any kind, then they become unblockable. So like Sabretooth, you'll see him here. Toad, you'll see him here. Sauron, Gore. Basically, just don't fucking touch him. You know what I mean? Just Quake him if you can. If somebody bans Quake, then you're just going to have to basically get around his buff effects. So you can use a neutralized champ against him over here, like Tigra, Rentra. You can use Wiccan if you want, just to neutralize so that he never gets those. You can also just use Dr. Doom and stagger him. And yeah, so, all right. And then over here, we just quaked this after the boss was down. So we did use a ghost for this Doom boss. This is good placement for Dr. Doom. And you're going to see a lot of Dr. Doom bosses with a Conduit Global. Human Torch with Flame On can take this fight. It's just the block damage from a rank 4 Dr. Doom is just so crazy that it's just dangerous. You really can't make any mistakes. And yeah, so, but we just left Hazard Shift linked for Ghost, the old Ghost trick. And this is the last war that we're going to get to use Ghost this season because she is going to be blacklisted at tiers 1 and 2. And then over here, we had a Mysterio on node 53. I actually am going to take that with Hyperion. Very easy fight, you guys will see. I'm just going to spam my SP1s to incinerate him, and then I'll parry him and heavy him. during stun reflect cooldown. And then up here we had a Penny Parker, and the person that picked up 3 Corvus charges in S1 in section 1 took that fight with Corvus. I think Corvus knocks her shield off in like 2 or 3 blocked hits, so it's pretty crazy. Okay, that is it. Let's kind of jump ahead. There you go. There's the other side. Hey, you know what? Let's actually take a peek here. What do we got? What do we got? Where are we at? Okay, down here. So we had a Tigra take this path. I know that, and we had a Quake on this Miles Morales. It's pretty good placement for Miles if you're going to place him. You know, this does have aspect of evolution and kinetic transference, and the thing with Miles is he has a chance to go invisible when you activate a special attack. So the best options are going to be Quake. You can also use Cosmic Ghost Rider as long as you get your Vigilance passive up with the medium ending combo. You can also use Cosmic Ghost Rider for this node. We ended up using we ended up using Gallon here, and I'm sorry, we used Gallon for this path as well, not Tigra, but Tigra and Gallon would both work for this as well. But CGR can work if you want to send a CGR up this path. CGR is just not ideal for Spite because of all his buffs. I can't remember this defender, honestly. Yeah, I just can't remember. But, yeah, I think it was a Domino, and we used a Nimrod with an invulnerability boost because his armors will trigger Spite. And then down here, this is where Happy went with his Ghost. I can't remember what the fights were, but if Ghost isn't banned and Magneto's not on this path, she's pretty much good to go. Or like a CGR or something like that. All right, let's get into the actual fights. This is my wonky team here. We've got King Groot, Hulkling, and Hyperion. I needed King Groot because I'm going to be going on Path 3 in Section 2. And I have a Silver Surfer on Chitinous Thorn, so I need a bleed immune champ. And Silver Surfer is a conduit defender, so I didn't want to use Clairvoyant because all of her attacks are energy, and that would just feed him regen. So good placement for Silver Surfer. It's pretty common, but because they banned Apocalypse and CGR, which are very, very good counters for that node typically, yeah, kind of had to get creative in using King Groot. So, all right, we are boosting up a little bit. Let's just get into it here. I am going to throw on these because I have a couple Cosmic Boosts expiring. And again, I'm just kind of like grumpy that they banned CGR. We do use CGR quite a bit, so I do think it's a worthwhile ban depending on how you organize your defense. But yeah, I was super bummed to see both Apocalypse and CGR banned. That hurt a little bit. Okay, so I mean, this node, you know, I have so many buffs. It does have Rich Get Richer, but it just doesn't matter. I am going to kind of screw this up, but I only have Hulkling for 2 fights. There, I kind of get caught there. And I stopped my combo short there. I should have obviously continued. Had I continued one more hit into his block, I would have gone unblockable. But it doesn't matter. I'm just going to launch this SP2. I have all of these passive Furies, and then I've also got my own Fury from activating the Special 2. And with the Cosmic Boost, that pushes me to an SP3, and I just throw it to get him finished off. So very, very easy. And, you know, as far as Warlock goes, Hulkling can't be power drained, so you don't have to worry about getting power drained or degened against an Awakened Warlock. The other thing is Warlock, his infection timer is reduced for every active buff on the opponent, which is, you know, he's built basically for champs that are not Cosmic champs with a lot of buffs, so you don't even have to worry about infection against him with Cosmic champs anyway. Okay, so here you guys see we've got Chitinous Thorn, Enhanced Bleed. You basically just want a bleed immune attacker here. Now this is going to be a little bit of a longer fight here. King Groot is, you know, he's much better since his rework, but he still is kind of a slow champ, especially if he's not fighting Poison Immune or Tech champ. So basically what I want to do here is if he gets an armor buff, then he can glance my attacks. We're just going to slow this fight even further because glanced attacks they cannot crit. So, you know, my damage, which isn't very good anyway, is going to be reduced even further. And what I want to do is I want to get to my SP2 when I have a bunch of Furies active and throw that. Now, one thing that I was slightly concerned about is the SP2 it does deal energy damage initially, like the actual beam hits. I think it's like the beam hits are energy damage, but they deal secondary direct damage, and then of course they inflict poisons, which deal damage over time. So because of the direct damage, you guys will see. I am gonna go ahead and try it out here, but I think he's like moderately safe for conduit. But at tiers 1 and 2, every time you knock a conduit defender down, they're granted a 0 damage energy damage over time effect, which just helps them regen all of your hits. So you basically would want to have Despair running with King Groot to prevent, conduit regen can't be affected. So just ignore what I just said. But anyway, okay, so this fight, as I mentioned, is just taking a little while, but ultimately I'm in no danger. I am going to screw up a few times, get whacked a few times, and Silver Surfer kind of low-key has decent attack. So I'm going to lose quite a bit of health, but King Groot is just a tank machine, so we're all good. But you guys can see that he is glancing all those attacks. There I just totally screw up on the SP1 decks. Not like the biggest deal. I'm trying to buy myself some time so that I'm not hitting him while he has armors because of the glancing. And then here he goes unblockable, and he gets that unblockable buff, so I know that I need to bait out and dex the SP1. Now he doesn't have any armors, which is great. There I screw up another SP1 dex because I suck. And I just got to wait out this unblockable timer. And now I'm good. I'm just kind of watching his cosmic, the power cosmic passive here. And it's got this timer. It'll cycle between Fury, Armor, and Power Gain. And if he throws a heavy or an SP1 during that, he'll activate whatever the active buff is. And you just don't want him getting an armor there. All right, so here, this node has enhanced shock. And of course, you guys can see here that this dude is a conduit defender. So we're just going to use Hulkling, who is shock immune. And I think I screw up this fight a little bit too. Just kind of a sloppy war without my comfort attackers. But same thing with King Groot. It's just so safe that it just doesn't really matter. There I go full combo, and I wasn't paying attention to my buffs. So I didn't set myself up to go unblockable. But as you guys can see, once you get to the SP2, we just throw that, and then we're going to throw this again, and yeah, it's going to kill him, I believe. Yeah. All right, so Hulkling is pretty cool. I might rank him up if I'm able to get him awakened, but then I'm just going to move up for Bretsky, so he can take that with Corvus. And then over here, the fight that I was talking about earlier, Mysterio, we are going to use Hyperion here, and I think I just used mid boost here. I might actually go full boost. I can't remember. I certainly didn't need to. I think I just, since I was kind of being a little bit sloppy this war, I just didn't want to screw anything up. But with Hyperion, since I'm just going to be spamming my SP1s, and you do not want to throw your SP2 on this node because it has the chance to stun, and if you throw it when Stun Reflect is active, then you'll just get Stun Reflected. It's also got Polka Dot Power, which only applies to combat power rate, so passive power gainers like Hyperion with his power gain buff, you can see he's still gaining power, not affected by Polka Dot Power. But then also once we get to an SP1 and inflict him with an Incinerate, we will put this Stun Reflect mechanic on cooldown, and then he will also, will also gain power from having damage over time effect on him. This node does also have stun vulnerability, so while this timer is on cooldown, I do want to stun him and hit him with my heavies, just because I think that the damage is 200%. There's like a 200% damage bonus. Now here, obviously, I'm just waiting this out. I get cornered, and I'm going to go ahead and throw the SP2. It barely does any damage, like 5% of my health. But you guys can see that this is very safe. Now, one thing that I just don't want him to throw his special 1. That's pretty much it. So what I'm going to be doing, you guys can see, is I go straight into my block, and then I'm just going to reparry him. Typically, Mysterio is aggressive enough that he's pretty easy to reparry. Sometimes he'll hit into your block one time and then automatically throw a heavy. Again, it just doesn't matter. Just recycle SP1s with Hyperion on this node, and pretty easy. You can also just use Human Torch on this node since he's whitelisted. Without Flame-Ons that you're inflicting Incinerates, Human Torch is a very good counter too. But I think, yeah, I don't know. Can't remember exactly what the scenario was, but yeah, I took it with Hype. Pretty easy fight, and that is it for the war. So just moving up here for Brett again, and we, like I mentioned earlier, we did win this war. We finished with 5 deaths this war. So last war we finished with 4 deaths. BG's 1 and 3 finished with only 1 death. They did really well. BG2, which is the battle group that I'm in, we had 3 deaths. Just a couple unfortunate fights, good matchups. They just, things happen, and that's going to happen. But I'm really proud of the group for starting the competitive push with 4 death clear and now a 5 death clear. And I'm very eager and excited to see how well we do with Conduit 3, which is the upgraded version of Conduit at tiers 1 and 2. So anyway, that is it for the war video, guys. Leave a like and a comment. Let me know, again, give me some feedback on these if you like what you like seeing, if you like seeing the fights, stuff like that. But that is it. So I will catch you in the next video.